Okay, let's take a look at this patch, guys. So first and foremost, they're going to change some negative LP issues. Well, I'm not sure who's struggling with that, but currently I'm sitting on a 62% win rate, so I'm not struggling with negative LP. I'm not sure about that. And I have, by the way, not gotten a single Aegis of Valor on my main role. I've never gotten an Aegis of Valor on my main role. I've just been getting filled like shit all the time. Mid lane has been getting the worst end of the spectrum with the Aegis of Valor. I'm pretty sure of that. Duo top of Challenger, I think that's pretty fair. I think that there's a lot of really strong duos. And it's just not really fun to verse up against a duo queue mid jungle whenever you play against like a Ryze mid jungle duo. It's just not fun. It's really hard to verse. This is really whatever. The climb indicator, who cares about that? Item changes, okay. Mel. All right, let's take a look. So we're gonna open this in a new thing here. What we find is that Ahri buffs are actually a revert of the nerfs that they did earlier this year or earlier last year when Ahri had the Roa changes. Because Roa Ahri was very annoying. That's why they reduced their cooldowns, because Roa Ahri doesn't really build a lot of CDR. And that's why they increased the cooldown of the W. Now, them decreasing that I think is really good. I think they recently also buffed the W damage. So I already think that W Max Ahri was the more consistent one, especially for average play. But now for sure, W Max is even better. But this is not only good in the late game because it skills at each rank. It also is really good with the early game. Because this is an offensive ability and a defensive ability, right? So this is gonna help a lot with some rougher matchups where she wants to dodge kill shots. This 1 second actually means quite a bit. It's nice. Okay, Bel'Veth buff, sure. I've seen one Bel'Veth, look pretty whatever. I do not know really about any of those stats. Let's just take a look at some of these junglers that they're buffing. Where's Bel'Veth on the list? Doesn't seem terrible. Maybe she's terrible. Maybe the thing that they changed is like that the jungle is more tanky. And Bel'Veth kind of struggles with that. That could be a case. I'm not entirely sure. I've seen also a lot of Briar like do really well. There's this one Briar guy that is just completely demolishing the rank ladder at the moment. This guy is like a Giga Briar OTP. And he's making Briar look pretty decent. So maybe this champ is also quite decent. I don't know if buffing jungle is generally the best way of going about it. I still think that jungle is actually one of the strongest roles in the game. I especially think that the moment you're behind from jungle, you're really struggling. Draven, I've not seen a single Draven, so I guess the Draven buffs are fine. Ezreal is, I think he was indeed quite weak, so I think this is also totally fine. Buff, this E-AD ratio is completely useless. You're rarely using your E for damage. Of course, you do it sometimes when you do W into E, but it's mainly the Q-AD level. It's 5 per level, so it's about, yeah, he's working with a few base AD. It's nice. It's all right buff. I've not seen any Hecarim, maybe one Hecarim. I don't know. I have the feeling that farming junglers, what are we seeing with farming junglers here? Wow, they're buffing so many junglers, dude. Why? Why are they buffing so many junglers? What's going on here? Kayn buffs? I've not seen a single Kayn, actually. Insane jungle Nefiri buff. I think jungle Nefiri already was really annoying. It's especially annoying to verse as a laner because this champion does such a good job at diving. I'm not really a big fan of Nefiri jungle buffs. Also Maokai, base damage. Looks like they're just slightly buffing up junglers that struggle with keeping up in the fast jungle clear meta. Because of course the jungle clear is massively slowed down. So if you don't clear remotely fast, you just get completely out tempo. You see that these two champs here, they clear very fast. I don't know. Jungle is an interesting role. Let's go to the real champions here. Tryndamere buff. Tryndamere, I've seen one Tryndamere. He actually did pretty well, but I don't think the champ's particularly good. I think all of these buffs, I'm pretty happy with them in general. Yeah, you can see that Tryndamere is just ass, right? So I think this is a completely fine buff. It's probably not going to put Tryndamere on the radio. I still think he's bad. Vi buffs seem pretty legit. I'm not a big Vi fan because I think that her play pattern in solo queue is really hard to deal with. I think it's harder to deal with than, for example, a champ like Jarvan. I think if you're a mage player playing into Jarvan, it fucking sucks. But I at least have a feeling there's counterplay to Jarvan, right? Either Cosmic Insight, Lucidity Boots, more flash cooldown. I have the feeling that there's also champs that you can pick that are really good into Jarvan. But Vi is one of these champs that I just don't like seeing because of the insane amount of threat that she has and the way that she shapes the game. It's very hard for a lot of champions to play into Vi. They're buffing Xin Zhao. They're giving him more healing and more attack speed. You know how interesting that is, by the way? That they're buffing Xin Zhao and that they're giving him healing and attack speed. Because this kind of scales upon each other, right? If they get more attack speed, he might just put more points in E right now. I don't know what the Xin Zhao leveling order is, but maybe this is going to incentivize him to put more points in E. And if he does that, then he also out-attacks faster and he gets more healing. Very interesting. I think pro play has seen quite a bit of, not insane amounts, but I think Xin Zhao is playable in pro play. So sure, I don't really mind Xin Zhao as a champion. I think he's pretty cool. He's got this skill shot on the W. So I think there's a bit of skill pressing to this champion. I don't mind Xin Zhao. Also buffing Yone, which is necessary. Yone is like completely ass at the moment. Now, I think that this is... Okay, look, I personally am not too happy with the way they buff Yone, because I know that his Q is a skill shot, and I know his Q is dodgeable and stuff like that, but I don't think this is gonna fix Yone, okay? Yone has some severe issues in especially high elo solo Q, and that's that his early lane is just not good, okay? It's just not good. You just get fisted in a lot of these matchups, and I think... If they want to fix that, I think 20 or 30 base health is literally all Yone needs to be able to play these matchups better, because then D-Shield and second wind can actually survive, make him survive again. And I think the problem that we're going to find is that the way that they're currently buffing this when it comes to the Q damage, I think Yone is just going to gap the shit out of low elo players. I think low elo players, low elo Yonas will just walk up and just stat check people. Very, very frustrating play pattern, I think, for low elo. Well, I think that the health matters a little bit less there. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's the vibe I'm getting. This champ is just still really, really hard to play in high elo. As a hand is like completely whatever. Braum is pretty strong. I agree. I think that this Braum change is pretty solid. Very strong early game skirmisher. Really good with those pipes, the Bandle pipes. So I like it. Diana was deserved because she was clearing the camp so unbelievably fast. A bit unfortunate, because Diana was kind of the champion that I picked if I would get out of field jungle. And even though I have no clue how to clear in the jungle, Diana was just so fast that I didn't have to clear perfectly and I would just do fine, right? So now I maybe need to investigate into a champion that's forced to clear jungle. Jace was my secondary champion, and he also got nerfed. So who am I going to play in the jungle now? If I get out of field, I'm pretty fucked. Initially, I thought that Echo jungle nerfs were a bit sucky because it also changes mid. But Max actually told me that it changes Echo wave clear breakpoints. And I think it's actually a good thing that Echo gets changed. Because I do agree that the Dusk and Dawn item on him is just a bit iffy. I know it changes the way that he combos. And it's just so hard to register that as a player. So maybe this is actually a great nerf. Maybe this is a great nerf. I think Echo is also a champion that is really good as a counter pick, but not good as a blind pick. And I think Echo always had the opportunity to kind of minimize lane a lot of times with his Q. He's got a lot of tools to minimize lane. And this is going to make it harder for him to do that. So, sorry, Max. I think it's a good change. I've seen some Nila, but Nila is just really snowball heavy. And this is mainly for bot lane. As mages, you don't really care too much about Nila. She can be annoying sometimes, but it's not the biggest problem. It's just that for bot lane, she kind of minimizes a lot of lanes, and then she just stat checks you. It's just a pretty frustrating champ to first. Fine change. Now, I think the Riven changes is one I'm really happy with. Look, the amount of Riven players that I've seen do crazy stuff on the Rift is like insanity, by the way. There's people just winning games. The stuff I've seen Aloys do on this champion makes me wonder if I'm playing the wrong role and the wrong champion, dude. This champ seems crazy to me. Okay, Ryze. Ryze is interesting because I think that they're nerfing him with 0.1 AP% and a little bit of bonus mana. And I think this bonus mana is probably a pretty big hitter. But then you got to keep in mind that they're buffing the actualizer, right? So this is a pretty good buff. So how much does Ryze get nerfed? I think Ryze is still going to be just fine. I don't think this is massive. A lot of Ryze's power comes... You don't really use W as an insane nuke most of the time, except for in late game when you do something like that, right? So I think that them nerfing the W, which is like a point and click, I think it's a pretty fair spell to nerf. I think this is fair. I think it's fair. It's just a fair nerf. Because they're also hitting... You guys are fucking... I see that you're not happy about the Ryze nerfs, like, laugh. But you gotta keep in mind that this Ryze also gets nerfed through the T3 defensive boots, right? And face rush. Sometimes he takes those runes. I've been preferring more of the resolve 3. So, you know, I think that Ryze, he's getting a little bit hit. I think mid lane in general is getting a little bit hit with these tier 3 defensive boots. Sucks a bit. It's just a mid lane centric nerf. I kind of like those options on the boots. Zed, finally they're nerfing the champion. Man, I get so pissed off whenever I verse Zed. This champion is so unskilled in the jungle, by the way. It's so unskilled, Zed jungle. I think Zed jungle is completely unskilled. You farm so fast, and then what you do is you just WR on a lane that just can't dodge it. Then you have that smite that eventually also slows it. You can... Yeah, I don't know. I don't like Zed jungle, dude. Zed jungle is just very toxic. Yeah, Zed jungle is just stupid. I also think Zed lane is also, with the current season, he also kind of likes it. I don't like Zed at the moment. It feels hard to punish. Not impossible, but you need to play really fucking well. So I'm a bit unfortunate with how they changed Jace. They're removing his Q damage. Because Jace jungle is the main problematic champion, right? Because he can just be everywhere and poke people. And he can farm up and deny his early laning, which is probably the weakest part of Jace. So, yeah, I don't like the way they nerf Jace. I would have loved for them to just hit the jungle bonus thresholds, but it sucks a bit. A little bit unfortunate. Mel, I heard they're gooding Mel. I didn't read anything. I don't know. I don't have an opinion. I just heard that they're gooding Mel. Probably doing it so that she becomes more balanceable. So, if you're a Mel player, don't feel bad. They'll probably make her more balanceable in the long run. They'll probably buff her back up. Don't worry about it. Okay, Actualizer buff. I think it's cool. The item was pretty ass. It had bad stats. I think it's really good on Rise now. It was already really good, but the item was sometimes tricky to buy because of how expensive it was. 300 gold is a massive game changer, right? It's like 10% of the item in cost reduced. So I think it's a good buff, this. So you should probably buy it on Rise. I don't know which other champs should really buy it. Probably mana champs, because it gives you extra damage based on bonus mana or something like that. So maybe Anivia or something like that. Not sure. Item is a bit of a wild card. Some champs will do really hard on it. Comparatively towards like Dusk and Dawn, right? This is also a really niche item. I like niche items. I think they're fine. Cashback is still good, guys. Cashback is still really good. I think if they made it 7% it would be better, because it was on 6, then they buffed it up to 8. I think 7 would be more balanceable. And then you can like compare it with the magical footwear. 7% would be better, but I think cashback is still slightly better right now with the slightly more gold that you get. What is cashback? It's a rune. It's a rune where if you buy a full item that you then get your money back partially. Phase rush. Okay, so everyone's saying this is good at. I see all you guys in the chat saying phase rush is dead. Let's see. So 75 to 50% for ranged. Okay. And also less bonus move speed. Wow, you actually get a very little move speed now. That's crazy. Holy shit, that's insane. That's a big difference. Wow, this might kill Phase Rush Syndra, actually. I think this kills Phase Rush Syndra. I think we're back to first strike. That's crazy. And Ori? I don't know, Ori can run Airy, but in some matchups she still wants Phase Rush, right? I think Ryze will probably still take it, because Ryze already has a lot of high base move speed, and Ryze can do EWQ and get almost a move speed with that. So I think Ryze will probably take it still. You could take Comet Ryze, but it's like, it's not really what you're doing, you know? Yeah, look, I think the Phase Rush dominated mid lane for a while. I don't mind them nerfing it, but this is like a pretty big nerf. I remember they also nerfed it at the end of last year, and before that it was like completely OP, right? Okay, tier 3 defensive boots, fair nerf. Shit was really OP. I liked it though. I think it allowed for really creative understanding of the game and ways to get side prio. I loved the tier 3 defensive boots occasionally. And the triple tonic nerf, I think they hit it at the right point, because the elixir for force is, if you're really good at using it, it can be insanely OP in level 6 all-ins. So I like them nerfing this, but I think they should do it back to 20. I still think people will take this triple tonic cashback. It's still going to be too good, I think. Not a hard enough hit. Turret plates, temporary resist, less resists. Does this mean if you got more people, it's less tanky, and if you're alone, it's more tanky? Is that what it means? I don't know what it means. If you're alone, maybe it's more tanky. Yeah, that's how playouts work. Right, I see. Okay. Well, I like that. I think it's interesting how that works. That's a new system. They didn't have that previous seasons. Sure thing, whatever. Champion bounties. Yeah, that's good. It was so fucking strange that if I just kill a support, or I kill my laner while he's 0-1 and only get 170 gold. I was like, bruh, really? All that effort for nothing? So I like them changing that. Dusk and Dawn, I don't like the item still. I think this item makes some champs just giga OP. And when I look at some damage numbers of some of these champions, I'm just so confused at how much damage that they deal. Like Gwen just deals unholy amounts of damage with that item. Echo as well, just crazy amounts of damage. You gotta keep in mind that health is a powerful stat on these champs too. You agree? Remove it? Yes, remove Dusk and Dawn. I think removing the item is probably the best thing we can do. Now, I don't think they should nerf champions based on an item. I don't like that. Endless Hunger, I don't know. I've never built this item. I have no fucking clue what this means, by the way. And I have seen this harness item. I've seen Leona, Sejuani, Rammus build this item, and it looks really annoying. I think it's really hard to visualize if you can kill the champion or not. Singed running it as well with the R. Really annoying, dude. Really annoying. This is a very annoying item to verse. I think it's a cool item, though. I think it's a really fair item in a way as well, that it gives these tanks an item that they didn't have before, but I've not been getting used to it yet. So I think it's probably a good change where it's less that it just catches you off guard, right? Because this armor and MR scaling was really insane. and it just catches you off guard. So it's more streamlined now. I think it's better, this item. Yeah, overall, I think the patch is fine. I think they're nerfing a lot of problematic champs like the Varus, like the Riven, like the Diana, like the Braum, like the Zed. Fuck that champion. And I think the buffs are also pretty good. I think the Yone buff, it's not the way I would have done it, but I think it's a good buff. I think that Ahri buff is really good. I love the way they buff Ahri. I think it's a really good way of buffing her. It makes her more flexible, and it's kind of the driving point of Ahri. So I really like this buff. I think they nailed it by reverting it. So yeah, I think new patch is gonna be fine, guys. It's gonna be a great patch. I think we're gonna be in a great position next patch. I love it.